Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. I'm Jack Smith.
I'm Shrikar Rajendran.
And I'm Anish Gupta.
And it's been kind of a wild week of football. Last week, it was a big knockdown week in picks and everything. There were a lot of upsets. A lot of games just didn't go the right way, at least for what we thought. We've got a lot of big news to talk about. But again, I want to start it off every single episode. Guys, how was your football weekend?
First off, let's give props to Anish for closing the gap.
Yeah,
in 1
what I
week
tell everybody.
in picks.
What did I tell everybody?
I have to give props when props are due, and it definitely deserves it there, man. Shout out to him. But this week has been very, very exhausting. But I'm very optimistic because obviously picks didn't go my way. The Niners game was terrible, but that's where kind of the optimistic comes into play, and I'll explain this later. But I'm so hyped for Trey Lance. I am very excited to see what happens on Sunday. But it was a very exhausting week school-wise, football-wise. But I'm excited for this Sunday. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, mine was great. I came back in picks. Like I told everybody, everyone who replied on that story and said, "Why are you last?" Who's laughing right now? I'm only one game back. I came back. Thank you, Mr. Walk It to Him Wentz, and thank you, Cleveland, for winning. They made me look great, and you know what? A win is a win. We'll get into it later, but yeah, that game definitely had me stressing a little bit. My suite mates could hear me down the hall, so I was going pretty loud. But yeah, good football week. Great week of picks for me. There were a couple of games that I kind of regret not taking, but hey, that happens every week. I'm sure Jack and Shrikar are saying the same thing. So it was a good football week, and I'm sure Jack, if we pass it on, I'm sure he had a good one too.
Yeah, it was funny. This is the first time the Jets win, and football wasn't even my primary focus on the weekend. That was a baseball weekend. I want to make that one thing clear.
I've been watching baseball.
Go Giants, baby.
And the Giants locked up the number one seed.
You're gonna lose to the Dodgers, but it's okay.
Hey,
Giants,
we'll see. Episode should come out Friday. That's when Dodgers Giants game 1 is in the playoffs.
All I know is Bellinger is back.
Don't listen to me. He knows absolutely nothing about baseball.
Oh, come on.
All I know. When the world needed him most, he did not vanish. He was there. All
right, but talking about football, it was pretty great. It was nice to wake up on a victory Monday. Haven't had one of those this year, and have 3 in the last, what is that now, 20 games. That's pretty bad. But also there was a victory Sunday too. USC pretty good showing against Colorado, and now the Jets. I got to wake up a little bit earlier to see this one, but they're going to be playing the Falcons in London. Pretty optimistic about that game. But first of all,
London, England, I'm very sorry that the U.S. has chosen you to give this game. Of all the games on the slate, Jets and Falcons
in the back, right? Is that UK in the back?
I mean, it's all love to the people in the UK, but I'm very sorry, from the bottom of my heart, that you got this game.
I think it'll be a good football game, just two bad teams.
I think it will too. I think it will be.
Good game, bad team.
It's going to be good because it's awful, basically.
Speaking about awful, before we get into our takeaways, I want to just go around the horn, talk about just the awful news out of Jacksonville and just everything Urban Meyer has done along this past week. I feel like we can't, since none of us have it as our takeaway, I feel like we kind of have to mention it, give our opinions, because he's just been in the news the entire week, one thing after another. And we've texted about it. And of course, if you guys have been watching the podcast for long enough, neither of us or none of us were very convinced that Urban Meyer was going to be a very good NFL coach. And every move down the line, we've been saying, what's going on here? And I feel like this is the lowest it's been. And who knows, it might be the lowest it will get before he's possibly fired mid-season. So I felt like we got to get our thoughts out there. Sugar, you want to start?
I have a lot of thoughts on Urban Meyer, and I've had a lot of thoughts on Urban Meyer since he was hired by Jacksonville. It's just a string of bad moves, but what unfolded this weekend is something like I've never seen from an NFL head coach in real time. And I think, first of all, I got to address this because it's the most pressing issue to me. He didn't fly back with the team after a loss that sunk them to 0-4. I've never seen that from a coach. Have you guys ever seen? I've never seen that from a coach. And honestly, it's putrid. It's terrible. I don't see why any coach would do that. And even before this weekend, he lost the locker room. He lost the locker room before the season even started. He was just never a good head coach, because the difference between, college and the NFL, we said it over the offseason, he doesn't have the authority that he thinks he has. Like, and no one's going to question him too in college. In the NFL, everyone's going to question him. It's just two different sides of the spectrum. It's two different levels that Urban Meyer just doesn't have a grip of. So I don't think he's cut out to be an NFL head coach. I think he's going to be fired before December. Honestly, I think he's going to be gone sooner than we think. But he's just an awful coach. And I'm not even going to address the video of him getting a lap dance because that's his personal matters. I'm just not going to go into that. But I think not flying back with your team is just a sign of a poor head coach who hasn't acclimated to the NFL environment and who just isn't, being there for his team. And Shad Khan even said it in his statement, like, you got to regain our trust and respect. For that to be said 5 weeks into the season, it's very concerning. But let me pass this off to Anish. I'm very disappointed in Urban Meyer.
So, I mean, obviously I grew up an Ohio State fan and Urban Meyer was, most of what I knew. I saw a report and I kind of took this quote and I kind of wanted to say it. But he's basically doing what he wanted to limit at Ohio State, and that is being a distraction. He is the distraction right now. And I think, as Shrikar said, that video or whatever, right? He's distracting the team. He's giving the Jags a bad image. And, I think his heart was never fully in it. He retired from coaching because obviously he got kind of pushed out the door. That was that whole scandal, right? I don't think his heart was ever really in it. I mean, he kind of just took the job on. There was never really buzz. You could look at the tape, even, training camp. He was never really as passionate as you would see like a Pete Carroll. And the reason why college coaches just don't translate to the NFL is that in college, these are kids. In the NFL, everyone has their own brand. They have contracts. They are getting paid, right? They have a kind of, like I said, a contract with the NFL or with the organization. It's a job. They're doing them a service, right? Yes, it's for our entertainment, but they're getting paid to do something. It's different. And these are, 30-year-olds who, have developed minds, have their own opinions. It's very hard to control that going from college to the NFL, which is why you rarely see college coaches succeed. Saban couldn't even do it, right? We've seen Chip Kelly kind of fly out the window. College coaches they haven't really succeeded. And I think Urban Meyer is just another example. And Jacksonville has just been a dumpster fire, and he hasn't seemed to rally this team together. And I am convinced they should be 2-2. They would be 2-2 if he wasn't the coach. I thought the Cardinals game and the Bengals game were winnable games. I just think Urban Meyer he's been in the fold, and I think it's just distracting them in terms of just even game prep. So, and as Shrikar mentioned, not traveling back with the team, that's a bogus move. I mean, no matter what happens, you have to be there with your team. It's a rallying cry, and I just don't think the players are buying into it. So that's kind of my thoughts on it. Just being a distraction, being what you said you wouldn't do. And, again, college, he had that rep. The NFL, it's a new slate. And so far, his slate has been pretty damn shattered. So that's my take.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you guys, I think, are both right that the not flying back with the team part, that's the thing that really set off the alarms in my head, because you can read that on a page and let it slide by and be upset. But actually trying to visualize what it would look like to have the entire team getting on the airplane to fly back after losing to go to 0-4, and the coach isn't even on the plane. Yeah. I feel like every football movie you watch or sports television show you watch, there's the flights back, there's the buses and the coaches there. I can't even imagine even being a player and just not having your coach around for something like that. And the fact that he was staying, not for a health reason, not because he was fired, but just because he wanted to, spend time, and he goes out and gets a lap dance from another woman at the bar. It's unacceptable. And what's even more unacceptable is the stuff that we heard from I forget who it was on Twitter, but a big thread with quotes from players about Urban's coward-like acting after as well, not speaking to the team and full groups, only in position groups, not even really owning up to his actions by calling her just someone that was there, not even addressing the sheer I can't even explain how much that just turned me off from Urban Meyer as a coach, how upset it makes me, because think about how many young, talented players he has at his disposal and that he's shaping the beginning of their career. I mean,
they're
some
looking
people
for a leader, and he's not that.
No.
Simple as that.
And normally there's other places to turn to for leaders, but it's Jacksonville. I mean, there's so many young players. Trevor Lawrence is 21, 22, 23 years old. How can you count on him to be able to go out and play football as well as lead an entire team when his coach is doing stuff like this? It's just unbelievable. Urban Meyer took an opportunity that so many coaches in the NFL and college football that would die for. And he has just absolutely squandered it. Seemed like he doesn't really care. And he's ruining a lot of young players' careers. He's ruining old players' chances at winning some winnable football games. And it's unbelievable. And
we got to clarify this again. The players making fun of Urban is not because of the video. They are pissed off that he didn't go back with them. That's literally the reason.
It's a culmination of everything that's happened throughout the season.
I agree.
There were reports like this before.
I can get that too. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and again, there are only 32 jobs like this in the NFL. It's a high demand job, and he has squandered the opportunity as Jackson.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sugar. I feel like he's gone soon. But to shift gears a little bit, get into our takeaways to kind of go through quickly. My first one actually kind of plays off of that. Urban's a coaching hire that we really didn't like this year. Robert Saleh is a coaching hire who, after 4 weeks now in the NFL, I can confidently say that he is the coach the Jets have been searching for years. We kind of all knew about Saleh's passion, his fiery attitude towards football, his defensive scheming ability. We knew about all of that when he signed. But there's always those questions. Will it play in New York? Like, will it work with the Jets or with the Giants or these big teams from New York? And I feel like Saleh so far has proven that he is that guy, and he can really take over this Jets team and make something out of them. He can stand up to the New York media. He's a polarizing enough person where it makes sense. And just watching the performance last week against the Titans and watching his post-game press conferences, the way he celebrated with the team in the locker room, handing out game balls to Corey Davis and Zach Wilson, I saw his heart, and I really truly believe that's something that will play in New York. And it's something they definitely didn't have with Adam Gase for the last couple of years. And also over the course of these 4 games, though the Jets are only 1-3, the defense has been, I would say, phenomenal in some aspects. The defensive line has been amazing, despite having, guys that most people wouldn't understand the names, like Folarin Fatukasi, who's maybe the best run defender in the NFL at the defensive tackle position. Bryce Huff is killing it off the edge. So is John Franklin Myers. Quinn Williams is doing his thing.
And Quincy
Williams, at the linebacker position, which is where I would argue is like the Jets' biggest weakness is at linebacker. And once they figure that out, they'll be better at stopping the run. Something that's like the one weakness of the defense so far is stopping the run. But the Jets sacked Ryan Tannehill 7 times. They have only allowed 2 passing touchdowns on the entire year. And Robert Saleh showed his trust in the young cornerbacks early this offseason, not going after guys like Richard Sherman, not bringing back Brian Poole, and it's really paid off. A couple of posts that I wanted to talk about for stats for some of these Jets corners. Bryce Hall through 4 games, who was a rookie out of Virginia last year, who they kind of took a flyer pick on late because he was supposed to be first, second round talent, got injured. They were able to snatch him up late. 7 catches allowed. No other cornerback in the NFL has allowed less than 10. 100 receiving yards allowed, which is lowest among quarterbacks who have 80% of the snaps played minimum, and PFF's 16th ranked quarterback in terms of coverage. And on the other side, rookie Michael Carter, the second, has been one of the top cornerbacks in PFF grade, and he's the top 15 graded rookie on the PFF site. I'm a little bit inspired by what the Jets have done so far this season. I think a large part of it has to be because of Robert Saleh. And while, they're 1-3, and honestly, I don't think that they're going to win too many more games on the season. I'll stick with what I thought, maybe 5, 6, 7 games at most. I really am inspired by what Robert Saleh has done, and I'm convinced and I'm confident that he is this coach that the New York Jets have been waiting for.
I wouldn't consider
good. Right.
I wouldn't consider myself like very much sold on Robert Saleh yet. I mean, I've watched him for a while when he was a member of the Niners, but I get where you're coming from, Jack. I mean, I really love his energy, his passion. It's what he's all about. It's all gas, no brakes. So I really love that he's bringing that to the Jets. But from like an X's and O's perspective, I don't know. I just don't know yet. I think he needs a little bit better personnel on the offensive line, but is he the right coach for Zach Wilson? I can't say that for sure yet. We did see a lot of flashes. We kind of saw that BYU Zach Wilson come out in that Titans game, made a lot of great throws to Corey Davis, especially. And I like the connection those two have going on. But is Robert Saleh the right guy? I'm not sold quite yet. I think another, big win like that Titans game would get me more on that train. But I definitely get where you're coming from. And, I've seen Saleh for some time, so I understand that. My takeaway, we have to talk about the Bills defense because it has been phenomenal to this point. 2 shutouts in the past 3 weeks. The point differential is insane. I think it's 118-21, which is domination on every single level. But the thing is, I do still have, some levels of concern with the Bills. And I think the real main portion of it is we got to look at the QBs they've gone up against. Big Ben, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, and Davis Mills. So it's one starter and three backups right there, and that starter should be replaced. You guys all know my thoughts on Big Ben. So going into this week, you're going up against Patrick Mahomes. So I think this is the week where we're finally going to see, is the Bills defense for real? In addition to it, are the Bills as a whole, are they better than the Chiefs? Because this week determines a lot. And we'll get into the pick for that game later, but I think it's a very tough pick. It's a very tough game to pick. But I think this Bills defense has just been playing outstanding so far, but there is always, that factor of who have they faced. And in this case, I think they still need to prove it even after, dominant performances.
All right, so I got to react to these two again. First, I'll go with Jax. I actually disagree with you, Shrikar. I think Robert Saleh actually X's and O's wise is a good football coach defensively. I think in terms of the Niners too, I think they haven't been using Fred Warner right. There's something off. There is.
Yeah, he's looked worse.
They're too high shell. I don't think they're putting him in right situations. I think, especially with sides, I just don't think they're doing it the right way. And Robert Saleh, in terms of the X's and O's, I've always appreciated. So in my opinion, I think he's good there. And for Zach Wilson, he's not the play caller, I believe. So he's just kind of that motivator. And that's what he is. He's a very passionate football mind who's very intelligent. And that's what you kind of need sometimes. That's what Jim Harbaugh brought to the Niners when he came in. It's this kind of spark. And that's why I fully agree with you, Jack. I think Robert Saleh is the coach. Obviously, we can't make a full definitive statement, as Shrikar mentioned, but as of right now, I'm way more convinced on Saleh than I am with Adam Gase. This is obviously his first head coaching gig, right? He's not that experienced with it, but one thing you cannot deny is his passion and his leadership. And that is a huge, huge component of a head coach, as we talked about with Urban Meyer, something that he doesn't seem to show. So with Robert Saleh, I think he's rallying this Jets defense. And as you mentioned, right, Bryce Hall, a young corner who's really stood out. I agree with you. I've been really impressed so far. Quincy Williams, as I mentioned, and then you mentioned all the guys on the D-line. The Jets defense last year was also pretty good, but now I think they're just going to get better in terms of technicalities and fundamentals. Got a bright future. And again, with Zach Wilson, right, he is very talented. He's got the arm for it. And I think he's just got to be a little bit more poised. And that's just something with time, right? That's why when Jack kind of made this whole rookie take, you got to give these rookies time. They're all getting better. They all are, right? Fields got better in his second start. Zach Wilson's obviously getting better with 4 games, and Trevor Lawrence looked better against Jacksonville, and Mac Jones looked really good against Tampa Bay. So I think all of these quarterbacks with time, they're learning. It's still a process. It is a huge transition from college to the NFL. So I think that was kind of my takeaway with your take on Saleh and just overall with Zach Wilson. And then for Shrikar with the Bills, I've watched a lot on, this whole Bills narrative that's been going around. They have a plus 90 differential. That's crazy to me. And, if you want to put them at the top of the AFC right now, I wouldn't be mad just because they're doing what they're supposed to do again with Denver, right? They're doing what they're supposed to do. They are beating hard on teams that aren't as good. And I think this Bills defense is legit, though. They're stopping the run. They're grading the pass. Micah Hyde has come around as, honestly, he's been playing like a top 3 safety in football right now. And the offense has been great. Josh Allen has been sensational. Emmanuel Sanders has kind of emerged as that true number 2 receiver that, they've kind of been looking for. Stephon Diggs is, doing his thing as well. Running game's a little bit inconsistent, I guess, but, they don't have a number 1 back. So I guess they're fine with committee. Dawson Knox, another guy too that, kind of mentioned, but the Bills defense, going to them specifically, they've been doing what they're supposed to do. And like you said, yes, this week is going to be a big test. And I think this week in general is going to be a big test for a lot of teams. Week 5, there's some huge matchups, which brings me to my takeaway, because I think this is a huge matchup, and it is the Giants and the Cowboys. And my takeaway for the New York Football Giants, and I know this is going to sound biased, is they've been very underrated. And my take is Daniel Jones is the real deal, and he will get a second extension from the Football Giants. Look, I've been saying this since he came out of college. We've had this podcast for a while now, and I have said it, since day one. I'm a believer in Daniel Jones. And when you watch that game, down 11 in the fourth quarter, okay, he marches them down the field, right? He finally used Kadarius Toney. Kenny Golladay was sensational. And then Saquon Barkley's finally feeling confidence in that knee. I'm telling you, that offense is scary. It's clicking. And Andrew Thomas was sensational. I mean, in terms of pass blocking and run blocking, he was great. Like, Daniel Jones didn't even have to worry about his blind side that game. I was really impressed with how the Giants looked against New Orleans. And I know they're very inconsistent at a team, but keep in mind, this was at NOLA, their first home game with full capacity in 2 years. And we all thought this was a NOLA win. No, well, the Giants said no. Like, they came in overtime too. They were confident with it, right? You saw Jabril Peppers with the little thing, and then the first drive, they marched down the field, 3rd and 5, convert, big downfield completion to Golladay, and then Saquon finished it off. I'm very impressed with the Giants. They should have that win against the Washington football team. We all agree on that. And the Falcons won. I believe it was number 22, or it might have been Jabril Peppers. If they had come down with that red zone interception, we could be looking at a 3-1 football team right now. But they're 1-3. But I think this Giants Cowboys game, this Cowboys team will be a very big test. And I think Daniel Jones could honestly outplay Dak in this game.
I don't think there's anything that gets Anish like more amped up than talking about Daniel Jones and Carson Wentz. And so when inevitably one of them plays decently well for a stretch of a couple games, he's going to come back and he's going to talk about it. And
great.
I'm not going to deny that he has been great. They are, though, 1-3. Like, I will point that out. They have 1 win.
Mm-hmm.
They got 1 win. And so unless he's going to win you more games, I don't know how you can extend a quarterback like that.
See, but I feel like the losses aren't on it. I'll get into it later, but Jack,
they're not on him, no, but that doesn't mean, like, a quarterback does not have to have all of the losses be his fault to not be considered a winning quarterback. And Daniel Jones has just not won very many games for the Giants so far. And he has had weapons. He's had some pretty solid weapons, like, and up and comers, like you mentioned in past years, Darius Slayton, Anish. And where's Darius Slayton? I was like, I will definitely not deny Daniel Jones has been playing great through 4 games this season. I will also mention it is through 4 games this season. So I would like to see him contain, this ability to play well. And I want to see him win more football games. That's the main thing. Like, can he compete in this game versus Dallas? That's my big question. If he can, he can continue through the entire season to string together some wins, get the Giants to second in the division, pushing for the first spot from Dallas, then yeah, maybe you start to think about a contract extension. But if it's going to be the same year that he's had the last couple of years where they're going to finish with like maybe 7-6 wins and they're not going to make a full push for the division, I don't understand how you can give him a contract extension.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Giants for sure are the second best team in this division. I'm going to say that right now.
I wouldn't deny that either. I want to see Philly a couple more weeks for sure. And Washington, I mean, they were close to being one of my takeaways this week. They've fallen off a cliff, and like, it's not even because of the quarterback position. The defensive line.
It's the defense, and it's Chase Young. I've been very concerned about, but not about Washington. But I don't know. I know this sounds a little bit biased, but I have been very impressed. And we did it the whole segment, right? This is year 3 from DJ, and he is impressed. Like, and I think, with the talent that they could get in the first round next year too, I don't think you need a quarterback.
A lot. Okay. I'll kind of retract my statement that I'm not sure that he's going to get an extension, because I don't think there's a quarterback this year in the draft. Like, this quarterback class,
awful.
It is not, and it's not very inspiring. I got to look further, like, deep into them, but I'm not liking what I'm seeing so far from this quarterback draft class. So I feel like he will be given 1 more year after this year, kind of regardless on how they play. But I just see, like, for some reason, there's something holding me back right now. He's playing well. I need to see it for longer. And I just, if he can't win games, like Anish, you mentioned this, if he can't win games, you can't really be a franchise quarterback.
Just don't get hit with the Josh Allen. Hey, he could be the next one. I'm just saying.
He could be, but it's also like it's also year 3.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks don't really break out in like their 4th year or beyond.
He's got potential, man. I love the way he plays. Keep going.
Regard your take on Daniel Jones.
I agree with Anish in the sense that, like, nothing is Daniel Jones' fault, and he's been playing really good. Like, he's still the Daniel Jones we saw from like the past couple of years in terms of, like, he can make the shot plays, like, he can go deep, he can be explosive, but he's protecting the football. Like, that is the main reason why he is shooting up the QB rankings right now, and that's why he's looking a lot better. So I think Daniel Jones has made a lot of strides in his game, and I think, he's really honed in on that aspect. But yeah, I'm kind of with Jack in the sense that I don't know if he's a winning quarterback. But I mean, the losses aren't necessarily on him. It's kind of a combination of everything happening in New York. And the Giants played a great game in New Orleans, and that really showed, what their upside really could be. And this is a great Saints defense, by the way. And Daniel Jones did great.
I
in
thought
that
this
game.
was one of the 3 most impressive wins of week 4.
Yeah, no, the Giants definitely did their thing. And I think in terms of this Giants-Dallas game, I think the Giants are definitely going to play them close. It's a divisional game. The Giants are they've been in every game this whole year. And they finally won outright last week. So I think they're definitely going to be in this game with Dallas. Are they going to win? I mean, I don't think so. But I think the Giants are definitely going to keep it close. But I've been impressed with Daniel Jones so far. And really, it just comes down to him taking care of football.
I feel like we haven't really seen this. We've seen quarterbacks that have, put up flashes and they've either won games or they've kind of lost games. But there's kind of never been this in between. Like, I feel like Daniel Jones is flashing, but at the same time, not doing quite enough. But at the same time, it's not his fault. But at the same time, his team is still losing.
It's very weird.
It is like this really weird limbo in between.
Yeah, I feel like that's why you're going to get opinions on both sides.
It's a very giant.
Honestly, I don't know where to put my opinion right now. Like, that's why I'm kind of like,
everyone knows my stock is on one side, but I think a lot of people are still in that middle range.
I don't know where to be right now because like,
I know is you've definitely shifted from one side a little bit.
His play has been good so far this year.
Shifting.
But again, I will say it is 4 weeks. But like, he's kind of in that middle right now. Like, has he been playing well enough to be a franchise quarterback? Maybe.
I know he's been better than Haskins.
For sure. That's true. Hey, we might see Haskins, dude. We might see Haskins in the next couple days, next couple weeks. Big Ben has been awful. Yeah. Anyways, let's bring this thing back onto the rails. I'm going to the other side of the NFC East because I'll admit I was wrong on Daniel Jones. He's been playing so far this year, and I was wrong about the Dallas Cowboys. Coming into the year was not high on the Cowboys. I was kind of expecting that normal, this is our year, and then finding out they're going to win 8 games again. And everyone that had them in the playoffs, winning the division, going deep into the playoffs, I was like, I don't think so. I think this would be your average year from the Cowboys because of things like the defense hadn't been playing well. Dak was injured, really wasn't sure what to expect. Mike McCarthy kind of being the biggest reason why I had my reservations about them doing well this year, but they've proved me wrong so far this season. I'm not going to be afraid to admit that. The offensive line has been amazing. Dak has looked great, maybe even better than last year. The defense really improved. They've gotten a ton of pressure, especially from the interior. And Trevon Diggs, the one victory lap I can take on the Cowboys is Trevon Diggs, but even he is playing out of his mind. I had him as the second best corner in that draft, and he's playing like the first right now. So honestly, the Cowboys, they've made me change my tune. I'm going to consider them a top team in the league for the rest of the year, but I was not expecting this, and I'm not afraid to admit that.
No, for sure. Like, the Cowboys are insane, and Trevon Diggs, and we got to shout out Micah Parsons too. As a rookie, he's doing amazing things right now. Like, he is the leader of that defense for the next, however many years. And I've been very impressed with Micah Parsons. Trevon Diggs is playing like a top 5 corner right now. He's been insane. 1 pick in every game. He had that pick 6 against Philly. He is everything the Cowboys envisioned him to be. Like, he is amazing right now. And I'm very hopeful for this Cowboys team. I don't know how deep of a run, they could make if they do make the playoffs, but I mean, they could make some noise, especially with an improved defense. They've gotten that out of the way. I think the hiring of Dan Quinn was a great hire for them. We got to give props to him. I think the scheme he's brought in is perfect. But yeah, I think the Cowboys are very much improved. Dak is playing some of the best football of his career. And they're looking like a really good football team right now. So I'm very proud of the Cowboys, and I like what they're doing right now. My take was with my favorite team, the San Francisco 49ers. And a report just came out that Jimmy Garoppolo is not practicing again, which means more than likely we are going to see Trey Lance this Sunday. The Trey Lance era is upon us 49ers fans. And I thought I'd just give a little bit of input as to what I think, this whole situation really means and what's going on. So before the season started, I was kind of on that train of let's let Trey Lance learn on the bench. But now over the season, and as much as I've watched Jimmy this season, I'm on that train now that he needs to learn in the game. Trey Lance needs reps and he needs to play. And the reason I say that is because I think Mahomes is, a modern day anomaly of just letting a quarterback sit and learn. I think he was one of a kind in that sense because the raw talent there was way more than Lance. I think it was a lot more than Trey Lance. I think that was overblown to a bit. But with Trey Lance, I think he needs to learn within the game because he's a very smart quarterback. But with more time on the bench, I don't know how much he's actually learning. I think being in the game and getting those reps, especially as a mobile guy, you're seeing elite defenses, especially in the NFC West. I think this is going to be great for him. I think this year is now about letting Trey develop. And the only way you're going to do that is by playing him. I think I'm convinced on that now. And honestly, if Jimmy does get healthy, I'd still say Trey Lance should be starting. I think this year you just got to ride out Trey Lance. I don't know what this means for Jimmy Garoppolo. I think his time is done in San Francisco. And as much as he's done for the Niners, he's not the same guy. And unfortunately, injuries have just plagued his career. But I will always, respect Jimmy Garoppolo for practically bringing the Niners out of the dumps. Like, he basically brought us out of 2016 Niners. I don't even talk about that year because of Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'm always grateful for Jimmy Garoppolo, but this is Trey Lance's team now. And I'm very excited to see what he can do on Sunday. We may not see the results, right away, but I think this is the path that he needs to take. And I think he needs to learn within the game.
All right. So I got to break down the two takeaways again. The first one, Jack, the Cowboys. So I watch a lot of Skip and Shannon. I think I've said this a lot. So I watch a lot about the Cowboys. I also follow Deffy, who's one of the guys. I watch a lot of his stuff that he breaks down. So in terms of the Cowboys, I'd say they probably are the second team that I study the most. So I completely agree with you. I'm all in on what they are. I think they're a top 5 team in the NFC. They have been amazing. You mentioned it. Micah Parsons has been sensational. Obviously broke down his film earlier in the year, and I think he is a star in the making. You mentioned Trevon Diggs, who I think is the best zone corner right now. He's reminding me of LOB Richard Sherman. That's how good he's been playing right now. I know that's I'm not going to say he is that, but as of the first 4 weeks, he's been sensational. He's a ball hawk, great range, great hands. He's been sensational. And then in terms of the offense, they're doing what they're doing, but I think the biggest part is that they're actually becoming a run first team. Now, I know that sounds weird, but they've been running it more than they've passed it. Last 2 years, they haven't been doing that. This year, they have this kind of what Skip calls a thunder and lightning duo. And it's right. I mean, Pollard has been the most efficient back on every touch he's gotten, according to PFF. And then Zeke, who I believe is the 4th leading rusher in football right now, they've been tremendous. They're second in rushing behind the Cleveland Browns. So they're doing something right. And like you said, Dak has been better than I think what he was last year, because the years that he was winning, right, the 2018 and 2016, it was when the rushing attack was actually better. Dak is way better when the running game works first. That's any quarterback. And I think Dak is a lot more talented than a lot of people. So I think that's why the Cowboys have looked really good this season. And I think Shrikar mentioned that Dan Quinn was a good hire. You're right. I think Dan Quinn is better suited as a defensive coordinator, not a head coach. He can really focus, again, like I said, X's and O's. He's kind of like Robert Saleh. And he's not as good of a motivator, so he doesn't have to handle the offensive side. I will say this about the Cowboys, though. I think Mike McCarthy is just a name. He wasn't aware that Jalen Smith was even being cut because he named him captain the day before. So he was not aware. So I think Mike McCarthy is just a name. I really don't think he's that involved in stuff that's going on. So that's just one thing to keep in mind with the Cowboys system. But yeah, I think they're a top 5 team in the NFC, and I think they are legit. And then to kind of break down Shrikar's thing about Trey Lance. Look, it's been quite, I've kind of said it. I'm not the highest on Trey Lance, and I think he still needs time. Even the game against Seattle, look, I think the Niners this year are just going to be the odd team out in the NFC West. I think they are. I think Seattle, this was a prove it game, right? They were 1-2, and Jack and I kind of rode with that. Russell Wilson has never lost 3 games in a row. I just trust the magic of Russell Wilson. The Cardinals have looked amazing, and like we've seen with the Rams, I think those 3 are going to be the top 3 teams in the NFC West. And I know that's upset a lot of Niner fans that I've talked to recently, but considering we're all from the Bay, but again, I think Trey Lance needs a little bit more time. And look, Kyle Shanahan is a good coach, but the offense just hasn't looked the same this year. And also, I think without Jimmy Garoppolo, he's like 10 or 11 games under 500. I think a little bit more. So, and that's not a knock. It's just, he hasn't had a good quarterback besides Jimmy G, but that's just a little bit concerning to me. Like, he's only really succeeded as a head coach with Jimmy Garoppolo. So with change, it's going to take some time. That's all I'm going to say about that. I think Trey Lance has the talent. That's undeniable. He's got a big arm. He can rush for it. I mean, he can escape, but As of right now, I think he needs time. And again, with the whole Mahomes anomaly, we've seen quarterbacks who've given time, like Lamar Jackson, who kind of was supposed to sit under the fire. He got 10 games under Joe Flacco. So I think there's still kind of that narrative. You should still give a quarterback time if you have a good quarterback in place. But yeah,
I don't think they have time though, because
no, they don't now
good.
because Garoppolo is injured. Obviously, they have to throw.
And even when he's healthy, he's not that good. Like he's really not like.
So the whole point of the NFL, and I think this is why Bill Belichick is the greatest coach ever, is he would always put in the player that gave him the best chance to win, no matter the name, no matter where they're from.
See, I don't even know at this point,
that's but I don't know if Trey Lance gives you a better chance to win right now than Jimmy G. That is my one thing. And I think you may disagree, but as of right now, I have not seen enough from Trey Lance to say that.
Because he's only played one half.
Exactly. But you can give him all the things you want right now because you have to. He's hurt, but as of right now, I think Jimmy G would give you a better chance to win. That is my
I agree with you. Needs time, but I feel like QBs only get better by playing.
He will.
In year two of playing in a Shanahan system.
He will,
so
because
if you watch this year and then you play next year, I don't think it's going to be like as good.
That's why I'm not questioning the fact that he should start. I'm just saying when Jimmy G comes back, right? Like if you want to win right now.
At that point, I'm not going back to Jimmy.
Yeah, that's why it's a really tough scenario. But if you want to win right now, if you do, I think Jimmy Garoppolo would be the quarterback.
All right. Well, our Zoom meeting, just crashed on us a little bit. So what you guys missed is these two arguing on the phone in between. And I'm going to spare you guys the loud and, quick speaking and interrupting conversation between these two. And we will continue it next week after we see Trey Lance play a full game after a full week of practice. Honestly, it could go either way. I think Trey Lance is a very talented quarterback. I've said it the whole time. It's just the situation. And I said that all the way before pre-draft process. If he's in the right situation, I think he could be really good. And, of course, he's coming in probably earlier than he expected and the Niners expected him to. But I think he's got a pretty good matchup this week. I'm not sure how well the Cardinals defense will be able to stop him, especially with his legs and his arms. So we could see them put up some points. And honestly, I feel like that's the first time we can say that they've solidly put up points this year if they're able to score this week against Arizona. So it could go either way. You guys, I'll let you pick up the argument next week. We'll see which one of you guys wins. But Anish, you want to hit your second takeaway before we head on to picks this week?
Yes. Mine is also about my team. And man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Browns won in spite of Baker Mayfield. And look, my takeaway kind of got shattered because this morning I woke up to the fact that he has a partially torn labrum. But as of right now, again, I came in thinking, okay, I watched this Brett Coleman video and you know what? I'm confident in the chemistry. There is something up. I can't put it into perspective. I cannot. I watch a lot of football. I watch a lot of film. I cannot explain the Baker Odell connection. I cannot. I've tried. And look, that video was good. I even agreed with most of the takes. It doesn't work. Okay. Baker Mayfield and Odell Beckham Jr. just do not work on the field. He is not, and it's more on Baker. It is more on Baker Mayfield. And right now, the Browns have won the last two games in spite of him. And that is the first time I've said that. I didn't even say that last year. This Minnesota win was clearly in spite of Baker Mayfield. And I don't think with the way they're playing right now, I think Odell has to go. Otherwise, this team will not go as far as I'd hoped. And it's not even Odell's fault. It's just Baker plays better without him. It's there. It's simple as that. And maybe it is the labrum. I don't know. But as of right now, there is something up with that connection. I just don't get it. He doesn't trust himself to throw it that far. I mean, he's missed 4 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks to Odell specifically. And then he missed one to Harrison Bryant on a deep cross. There's something up with Baker Mayfield. The first 2 weeks, he was great. Second 2 weeks, again, maybe it could be the labrum. I don't know. It may be an overreaction. But I think as of right now, I am concerned just for this season on the Browns winning in spite of Baker Mayfield, and I just don't think Odell is the answer. And Jarvis Landry, there's a reason why he's the heart and soul of this team. I'm very concerned going into these next few weeks. Can this team really go to the heights I want? That is my takeaway.
If you've got a quarterback who can't hit a receiver on a deep pass, the response should not be that the receiver has to go. And no. There's enough of this, like there's correlation here. Just whole debate from Browns fans about why Odell needs to go because Baker just can't be accurate down the field. Like I need Browns fans to stop whining and just, they're going to figure it out. Like, come on, it's been 4 weeks. Odell's been back for only a couple of them. Baker has missed on a couple deep throws, but overall, he's a fairly accurate quarterback. It's going to get figured out. Like, it's not, there's no like voodoo magic going on here that, or Baker can throw to everyone else except Odell. Odell's just getting open and they're misses. It's football. And so
it is, but again, it's a consistent thing that we're seeing. And there are throws that the last 2 weeks, this was my problem with Cleveland last year. They were a talented the first half of the season. They were very talented. They were 4-2, but every time they got to third down, I would get scared with the ball in Mayfield's hands. And I'm worried I'm going to see that again. That is it. And yes, I think the Browns, they've been playing, every positional group has been playing at some of the best level I have ever seen the Browns ever play. Defense, linebackers have been playing great. Corners, safeties, defensive linemen. Myles Garrett's been looking like the best defender in football right now. But in terms of quarterback play, on third down against Minnesota, I was scared. I didn't want the ball in his hands. As simple as that. And I don't want this going forward. I just don't want, here's my thing. I just don't want this whole narrative to consume the Browns. The Browns were very narrative driven in 2019, and that was their downfall. Look, Odell is talented, even if the connection works. The problem is if a game like this happens again, sure, it could be me overreacting. But with the media, right, it gets to players. It does. It gets to the locker room. I don't want this whole narrative being there. And again, one of them has to go between Odell and Landry anyway next year. They're both taking like an $18 million hit. So might as well, you have to get rid of one of them. And I'm not getting rid of Baker Mayfield, a guy who took a team that went 0-16 with 4 different head coaches and 4 different offensive coordinators to the playoffs in 3 years and has a winning record on his resume. I'm not giving that up. I'm sorry. With Odell, though, I know that Baker can win without him. That is why I would say to trade Odell. That is as simple as that.
I hope you realize you're the one that's spinning this narrative too. I mean, I
am, but and that's my point. It drives me crazy because it's just, that's how I would react to the Browns game right now. Look, there's nothing else I can say.
Here's the thing. I 100% agree with Jack about Odell, but I also 100% agree with Anish about Baker. Every other unit on this team is playing at a championship level. Like, they are looking amazing at every position outside of quarterback, and that is a big problem. But here's the thing. If Baker is consistently missing Odell, I don't see how you can blame the receiver. Because we've seen, like, Baker missing Odell, but it's bad throws. Like, it's not on Odell dropping the ball. It's nothing like that. Odell's very talented. Baker's very talented. I don't think the chemistry is there. It's just not that. If you wanted to allude to that, that'd make more sense. They just don't have good chemistry. But you can't blame the receiver for a quarterback.
It's not even blaming. It's just, what would you rather keep? Like, that's just it.
I don't think it's a chemistry issue. I don't think it's a chemistry issue. I think Baker is literally just missing Odell down the field. That's not a chemistry thing.
Do you what do you call it? Do you blame that on the labrum, or are you attributing that to the torn labrum? Like, because he looked good first 2 weeks. That's what I'm saying.
Did you hear Odell's quote today?
Yes, I did. He said
that he's got a torn labrum for the last 10 years too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, take that as you will.
And I liked Baker coming into the year, but like
I posed this question at the beginning, or after week 1, after the Chiefs game. Can Baker really win a game in January? Like, outside of beating the Steelers, outside of beating the Steelers, but I mean against the AFC's like elite, like the Chiefs. Like, can he lead a game?
So that's a question that we haven't really put him in the position yet. He had one bad drive in that Chiefs game, and yes, that ultimately cost him. But again, we haven't really seen it, right? So, like, we've seen it once, and it was one drive when Carl Joseph got that pick. But right, that is still a question that is yet to be answered. But
it's yet to be answered. But if you had to take a stance right now and you could just predict the future, what would you say?
I would say no.
I'd say no. Yeah,
I would say no. I'm objective. I would say no. And Jack, what would you say?
Oh, I think he can, and I think he will, and I think that, like, I was higher.
How the tables have turned.
Right?
I don't know. I feel like you're like spinning something that isn't there. Like, you're kind of like grasping for straws, but there's nothing there. It's just he missed a couple throws. He missed a couple throws this week, and he missed a couple throws like last season.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, well, look, season's long way to go. And I think this could just be me getting frustrated. but
Definitely, you getting
it's
frustrated.
still a big question. It's the only question I have for my Browns. It's the only question right now, and I think
It is.
it still should be taken into some consideration.
No, and it is weird. Like it's something that should not be happening, but it is.
like it's confusing to me. I mean,
It's very
every
awkward.
statistical category goes down so much. Like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but and every time it's towards his hands, Odell comes down with it. Like, I haven't seen him drop a pass at least this year. So he's caught like 7 balls and he hasn't dropped any. So
and he's getting open. Like, that's the thing. Like, he's getting open coming off of
being on the ACL. This is how talented this dude is. And one ball hit the corner's head. One ball hit the corner's head. One sailed left, and the other one hit, I believe, Odell's foot. Yeah. So we'll see. But
it's shocking how the Vikings didn't win that game.
Yeah, it's brutal.
They
were bad.
Baby.
They were bad. We kind of jinxed the crap out of the NFL last week. I come on. I talk about how great Kirk Cousins has been. He is bad. Anish talks about how the Rams are easily the best team in football. They lose bad. It's. I mean, the only person
this week's of picks. Let's get that started because hopefully we can get that.
Let's do it.
I want to round it out by saying Odell is better than his stats would suggest, of course, by getting open deep down the field. And Baker, I would like to believe he is better than the missed throws deep down the field. And I think they're going to figure it out. Like, I know that Browns fans, Anish, you in particular, have just been kind of like ravaged by this idea that Odell is just bad for Baker. And I feel like at some point when they get a couple more weeks on the field, like, that's the thing. Like, we saw them for, what was it, like 5 weeks last year? Was it 5?
7.
Okay. We saw them for not even 8 games. And this season we've seen them for 2 or 3. Like, it's give them time. And I don't even think it's a chemistry issue. I think Baker's just got to find his confidence again because he found it last year. And he didn't find it last year because Odell was out. He found it because he had time to get through the season. And I hope Odell can stay healthy as the season progresses.
I hope you're right. I guess I'm just playing the.
Dude, when did it become me having to sell you on the Browns?
Hey, look. Things can change, man.
Sell the Browns fan on
just like this. Just like this. When Odell catches an 80-yard touchdown for Baker Mayfield later in the season, you can come back and you can thank me.
Yes, I will. I will do an official. You can do an official "I told you so" on me. I'll let you do it.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
And you can't say my homeboy for a year.
It's usually me doing it to Jack.
Homeboy.
I'll let him get one on me.
And I don't want to hear about Debo or Cup for 2 weeks.
That's so unfair. They've been.
Come on, at least Debo. Like, we can definitely hear about Debo.
Receiver in football right now.
Hey, but Trey Lance can't win with the best receiver in football?
Nope.
Yeah, right.
Nope.
Anyways, let's get into picks. Packers versus Bengals. This is one I was really flip-flopping on, and I wouldn't originally,
I call last on this one.
All right, so Anisha's going first.
No, I call last.
I'll go first. I have my pick locked in.
All right, hit it.
Okay,
go ahead.
It's a really interesting matchup because just looking at it from both sides, if the Bengals win, we got to take them very seriously.
Yeah,
they are going to be a real force. But if the Packers win, you get a great road win. You're going to keep pulling away in your division. I'm going to go with Green Bay. I have it all written down in front of me, but always when we get to this segment, I overthink it. But I'm just going to go with my gut. Green Bay is the pick here. I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers over Joe Burrow.
Green Bay was my original lean, and then you start hearing the injury news, especially Jair Alexander being out, a huge key piece. I know I'm stealing all this stuff from you. I know. Trust me, I stepped in my game this year. That's why I'm coming for the title. But
you are.
And
all of that, just the injuries, and based on the injuries they already have too. David Bakhtiari's out. Darius Smith is out. Got surgery's gonna be out even longer. Like, there's just a lot of bad mojo around this Packers team right now on the injury front, and they're missing a lot of key players that I think would have served well to shut down the Bengals. The Bengals do have an injury of their own. Joe Mixon, not sure whether he will play or not, but overall for the season, he's just not been very good. They're averaging like 2 to 3 yards a carry in that Bengals backfield. They have not been able to run the ball very consistently well. They're not getting very many valuable touches. And so it comes down to the passing game. And that's why I started to lean Bengals a little bit when I heard Jay Alexander was out, but it's Aaron Rodgers. It's still the Packers. I'm kind of going to try and trust my gut because coming into the season, higher on the Packers, did not really trust the Bengals team this much. They did struggle last week against Jacksonville. So do I think they can pull off a big upset against Green Bay? Even despite the injuries, I'm going to say no. And I'm going to go with my gut and pick Green Bay.
I am rolling with the Bengals to lose in this one. I got Green Bay. Even though it's a long week, I think they're riding a little bit too high on that Jacksonville win. I think they are. This 3-1 start might get to them a little bit. Again, like you said, Jair is out, Bakhtiari is out. This is all the makings of a potential upset. It's at home for Cincy, right? And Joe Burrow's been phenomenal. This whole offense has been great. That being said, I think I just trust him more. As simple as that, right? In the game, this is a game that, Burrow's not really been in a big game yet. I think this is a game that people have circled. I think a lot of the media does. So, because if Aaron Rodgers loses it, everyone's going to harp on him, and everyone's going to give credit to Joe Burrow. So I think this is a game a little bit circled, but I think Rodgers gets it done in the end. I'm going with Green Bay.
I feel like this is a big week for that, like Herbert Burrow climb, like because they're both kind of climbing up the rankings a little bit.
They've both been great.
Burrow I'm surprised, has been keeping good pace with Herbert, but this is a big week. Herbert plays the Browns and Joe Burrow plays the Packers. This is a big week. Our next game is Broncos Steelers. And honestly, I did not think I was going to say this very much this year, and I don't expect to very much more throughout the entire season. I'm going with Big Ben, and I'm going with the Steelers for one reason and one reason only. It's Drew Lock, and it's not Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think Drew Lock will have a very good week against this Pittsburgh Steelers defense. He was just bad when he came in last week. The Broncos, their body language when he was in was just horrible. I mean, they could have competed in that game against the Ravens, and they shut down the first good team that they've played this year, and it wasn't pretty. And I don't think the Steelers are very good, but their defense is still one of the top in the league, and I feel like that they will be able to just successfully move the ball a little bit more against this Broncos team than they have in past weeks. Though don't take that as I'm saying that their offense is very good at all.
If you're gonna turn on this game in hopes of seeing some like great offense, change the channel. Like don't watch this game. It's very evenly matched. I'll say that it's very evenly matched, especially with Drew Lock playing. But here's the thing: the Steelers are at Heinz Field, which is 1. 2, they are very desperate to win. They are falling significantly behind in the AFC North. We just talked about the Bengals. The Ravens are looking like the Ravens. We just had a whole segment about the Browns. They're still 3-1. The Steelers need to catch up. So I think they're very desperate for a win here. So I think I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this game. Even though, I never really want to pick Big Ben, I feel like Drew Lock being in the game, we found something worse.
This one's a really tough one and it's ironic because Jack thought, Drew Lock should start. I guess that's a one-up on me with Teddy B. But same. I think this one's because like Denver, I was so mad that Denver couldn't pull that game away. They shut them out in the second. They were really good against the Ravens second half. Defensively, they almost shut them out, and Drew Lock just couldn't do anything on offense. But a week of reps, right? And I think I trust the Broncos passing game a little bit more. I think the Broncos go ahead and get a win here. I got the Broncos. It's just
sound awfully confident.
Not as confident.
Very confident.
The least confident on this pick. This one is the one I'm least confident, but I'm gonna go with Denver.
I'm surprised by that, honestly.
I'm very surprised.
I am too. I was leaning Pittsburgh, but that offense is. Do they have Claypool back?
I don't know. I think Deontay Johnson's definitely playing.
Well, I guess. Oh man, now I'm confused.
Pick Denver.
Yeah, why not? We'll pick Denver.
I don't think like either team that comes out of this game, I don't think it's going to be because one team won it. I think it's because one team lost it. And
that's how it's going to be.
Whatever. We'll go with Denver.
You got two great defenses that are just going to be
neither team is scoring 20.
All right. Well, now I got a team that at least I can root for in the weeks besides the morning slate. So yeah, go Denver.
There you go.
If you're gonna watch, some good offense, don't turn on this game either. It's the New Orleans Saints, the Washington football team. Two football teams that since week 1 they've been bad. They've just been straight up bad. And the Saints lost last week to the Giants in shocking fashion. The worst part about it. Can you guys tell me how many targets Alvin Kamara had?
0. First time in his career.
Not one target. How do you expect to win a football game?
Yeah.
You don't have receivers anyway. That's just a terrible game plan. And how are no plays called just to manufacture a catch for him, let alone a target? It's unbelievable. I don't understand how they can go in and think that that's a good way to try and win a football game. And it showed on the other side that the Giants has had more momentum, had more energy, came out and won the game. And the football team, their defense just has not been. We mentioned it earlier. The defensive line with all of those first round picks is just getting no pressure right now, no sacks. They're not generating turnovers. I've said the entire like last year or so, they were one key playmaker away. They just don't have someone in that secondary, in the linebacking core, that's going to go out and make plays, make up for the defense not getting enough pressure, make up for the secondary not being able to cover some people. And they just don't have that right now. I'm going to take the Saints in this one just because I trust them more as a football team. Maybe we get a big week from Jameis in this one. Their offensive line is good, so maybe this isn't the breakout week for the Washington football team defense. I don't know. I don't feel good about either of these teams right now, but I got to pick the Saints in a head-to-head matchup.
Literally anything could happen in this game. This is the pick that I'm least confident in. But look, the Saints have had so many issues moving the ball down the field. And honestly, in this game, I'd take Taylor Heineke over Jameis Winston. Call me crazy. I would take Taylor Heineke over Jameis Winston. Coming off that Falcons win, while Jameis Winston's coming off an OT loss, I mean, momentum swings in Washington's favor. They're coming back home as well. I'll take the upset here. I'll go with Washington in this game, but I'm not very confident in it. But I think it's just what's going to happen.
I'm a superstitious guy. And on odd number weeks, the Saints look like an amazing team. And then on even number weeks, they've been flat out trash. What is it? Week 5. So I'm going to go with the Saints. But in reality, I think they do bounce back. And Washington's defense, the only player that deserves some credit and no blame at all is Jonathan Allen. He's the only one that's actually been playing well. Everyone else has very, very well underperformed. But yeah, I think the Saints will bounce back. Again, it's just you have no downfield threat, but again, the Washington defense doesn't have a true corner. So I think I'll take the Saints here. I think their defense I think the Saints defense will make one more play than the Washington defense, which is ironic to say considering, last year you would never say that, but I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, week 5 superstition. I think that's the hard-hitting analysis that you guys come to this episode for.
I'm a superstitious guy. I'm always
none of us being confident.
But I gave you my actual reason. But hey, that was just another point on why.
No, and who knows? Maybe the Saints finally show up this week. It is the Jameis coaster, like we mentioned.
It is. I mean, hey, I guess we're going on another. But
hopefully another high. 3 more games to go. Anish, Browns, Chargers. I know you're not very high on the Browns right now. Do you have them winning? Do you have them losing? Worked out for you last week picking them to win. I'm curious. Do you have them beating the Chargers?
This one's a tough one. Because, it's a similar thing to the Browns with the Colts last year. They were facing a 3-1 team, right? And everyone was kind of concerned, what's it going to come down to? Look, the Chargers are riding high right now. And after Bosa's comments, I think they're riding a little bit too high. And I think right now the Chargers are probably a top 3 team in the AFC, or at least should be regarded as one. I got to go with Cleveland here. I think they're just going to make, in terms of the running the football, I think they're just going to control the clock. The Raiders couldn't do that, right? They have to rely on the passing game. And Derek Carr was just making throws that he had to make, but some of them were just awful. I mean, Derwin James ran the corner route for Darren Waller. So I think the Browns can control the game more than the Raiders, which is why I'm going to pick them. But out of all, this one's a tough one. At LA, this one's going to be hard.
The Browns can definitely run the ball, but here's the thing. It's Baker Mayfield against Justin Herbert. If this gets into a shootout, you already know who I'm taking. I'm taking Justin Herbert. And, especially with momentum purposes, I think LA has more momentum. They could be riding too high, as Anish said, but I don't know. I think I'm a lot more confident in the Chargers than I am for the Browns right now. So I'm going to roll with the Chargers in this game. And I think they're at home. Are they?
They are.
Okay, so it's pretty much a road game, but I mean, I don't know. Do Browns fans travel that well?
Oh, they do.
Okay.
I don't know if they're in LA though, but they travel.
Okay. I'll stick with the Chargers here, but again, it's another tough pick. There are a lot of tough games on the slate, and right now,
big AFC matchup. This one,
I trust Justin Herbert over Baker Mayfield. That's what it comes down to.
I've kind of started to realize that if you have confidence in a team in the NFL, you should really rethink that, because you can't have confidence in a single team going into a single week. Look at the Rams last week. So yeah, I'm confident in the Chargers and I'm not as confident in the Browns, but you got to kind of, pause, think about it, and look at the matchup. And I think that the Browns match up pretty well against the Chargers. I think they've got a good cornerback group that can look to shut down Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. The Raiders did a good job of shutting down Mike Williams last week, so maybe we start to see him come back down to earth.
For 36, so
yeah. And I think Herbert won't have another week like that where he misses that many deep throws. The Raiders gave him so many opportunities to hit bombs, and he just kind of missed on a couple. I don't think the Rams give him those opportunities in general this season or this year. And honestly, their defense has been playing like a top unit in football, and I expect them to continue that, especially against the offensive line for the Chargers, where they have not looked good, especially on the left side. Look for Myles Garrett to take advantage of that. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think
run blocking they've been good.
That's true. But Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, I think, can do a pretty good job of neutralizing Austin Eckler. Like if I were them, I'd show confidence in the rookie, kind of play him one-on-one on Eckler when he's running. Make sure Koramoah can get through the lane and kind of play man on him in the passing game. I think that their body types match up really well. And if there's one player I think that could like stop Austin Eckler in pass coverage as a linebacker, JOK might be my pick early in his career too. He's really impressed so far. And Anish, I think you're right. Running the ball for the Browns, they will be able to control the clock, control the game, open things up for Baker. I think you'll see kind of more of an emphasis on the run after this injury for Baker as well. So I'm going with the Browns. Not feeling tremendously confident about it, but then
me neither,
again,
bro, me neither.
No one.
I don't feel very confident about a single game this week, just because of what we've seen in past weeks from just about everyone in the league. No one can lock it down when they need to. And look at the Saints last week, look at the Rams last week. It's been bad.
And the Titans,
not a whole lot of trust going around.
Those 3 were locks, and what the hell happened? I mean,
yeah. So it's bad, but Shrikar, we talked about Anish's team, your team next. 49ers, Cardinals, Trey Lance's first start. Who wins?
Trey Lance gives you a better shot than Jimmy Garoppolo, but that doesn't mean I'm going to pick the Niners to win this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking Arizona to win this game. And I mean, it's just, you can't bet against the Cardinals right now until I see them lose a game. It's just kind of how it is. The Niners are too beat up. We don't know what we're going to get from Trey Lance. So even as I say we have a better shot, that doesn't mean I'm going to pick them outright. So I'll take Arizona, just playing it safe. But it's going to be a tricky game for them. It's divisional. But who knows? It's the NFC West.
The Niners have a better shot to win if they want to win right now with Jimmy Garoppolo. I will say that. And I'm taking the Arizona Cardinals as well. Again, I think they're riding the hot hand. Kyler Murray's been sensational. I just don't think the Niners secondary can also keep up with all the weapons they have. Rondell, Christian Kirk, AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins. One of them is going to have a big game. Seems like that every week for the last 4. So I got Arizona.
If I wanted to follow the theme of like the best team in football being crowned and then losing the next week, I'd pick the Niners here. But I think the Cardinals right now in a better situation than the Niners. They're at home. And I just feel like you're right, Anish. The secondary won't be able to keep up with the Cardinals' offensive attack. I'm assuming this is going to be kind of a high-scoring game. But I'm expecting the Cardinals. We'll see. I mean, if you've got fantasy players in this game, I would suggest throwing them in there. Actually, on the Cardinal side, because the Niners side, like, you can't trust Ayuk right now. The only player
you can trust Debo, though.
That's exactly.
Debo and Kittle are like the 2 people you can trust.
You can't even trust.
And Kittle hasn't even been great this year.
Yeah, and Kittle hasn't been. Yeah.
Don't worry, you got number 19 though.
Yeah, you better start Debo if he's in your lineup. Start a lot of players on the Cardinals too, because I think this could be a shootout matchup. But I'm expecting the Cardinals to come out of it. Another shootout matchup. Game of the week, last game of picks. One of the hardest games that we will have to pick for the entire season. Bills, Chiefs. Shrikar, you can start us off because you're in first place. Who do you have winning in this absolutely huge AFC matchup?
This one could go in like so many directions that I haven't even really like fully decided who I want until like right now as I speak. Here's one kind of narrative I was kind of working off of, but everyone is looking at the Chiefs as vulnerable right now. And I still feel like it's too early to say that. And this is also the first real test for the Buffalo defense. So I don't know. I think I'm rolling with the Chiefs right now. I'm not betting against Mahomes. It's just, he's going to prove everyone wrong this game. He is going to prove everyone wrong. He is still playing at an amazing level, but it's just getting overshadowed because his defense is playing absolutely horrific. But I think if the defense just makes enough plays, which I'm practically banking on them to do, I think the Chiefs will win this game in Arrowhead too. Very tough place to play. I'm rolling with Mahomes. I'm rolling with the Chiefs.
Wow, I was not expecting that because I've been going with Chiefs too. It's kind of like been in my head all week that the Chiefs were my gut feeling and the team, I was just expecting them to win this sort of game because it feels like the game they're kind of reeling. The narrative is being pushed against them. It's kind of flipping on the other side. And it seems like the Mahomes game, he throws 4 to 5 touchdowns. He just shuts everyone up.
Yep.
And it's a huge matchup. And Mahomes, outside of the Super Bowl, has performed fantastic in these matchups. The offensive line has been great this year. And I think the defense figures it out. Spagnuolo always figures it out as time goes on. And so I think in this week, maybe they don't completely figure it out, but it's the Bills offense anyway. Like they were going to put up a ton of points. So whether the Chiefs played just great defense or not, I think it was destined to be a shootout. And I think Mahomes gets the upper hand of Allen in the shootout this week.
Going with Mahomes, boy. And I know I don't want to say it a lot because he's beaten us twice, but yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs. This was the pick I was most confident in. Really? I think, I think, there's still narratives out there that, hey, Chiefs are 2-2, bottom of the division, right? And the Bills come to town riding this plus 90 differential. I think the Chiefs just flat out outscore them. Simple as that. I mean, Tyreek Hill can only be contained for so long. 2 weeks in and people think, oh my God, has Tyreek Hill lost it? And then he comes out and drops 47 fantasy points. I think he's going to have another strong showing. I also think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has really shown out last 2 weeks, over 100 yards in both games. So
still has a bit of a fumbling problem, but
yeah, no, he didn't fumble last week, but yeah,
which is very unlike him. Like
he's only had 2, so I wouldn't say fumbling problem, but yeah, he's looked good though. Very efficient on his carries, but yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs here. It'll be close, I think, but I don't know. I wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs won by 10.
You guys are scaring me now. We're really sweeping the Chiefs on this one. Now it's almost
just because of that, the Bills are gonna win.
Yes, we are.
Inevitable.
I think that if I was going to look,
you can switch. You can switch.
No, I'm not going to switch, but I want to give a reason why the Bills probably could win. Because if there's one team that I'd be confident in not letting something like this get to their head, like hearing about the point differential or hearing about them ranked number 1 in power rankings, it would probably be Sean McDermott's Bills.
Yep.
Again, they play such level-headed football. They don't let things go to their head like this. And they just have fun as a team. Like if there was one team that I would expect for this not to go to their head, it would be the Bills. But I think you're right. I think just the point is they're just going to outscore the Bills. And it feels like the game where they just kind of come out and they punch the Bills in the mouth early, and we'll see how they respond. It's going to be blow for blow. It could be a lot like that Chiefs-Rams game on
what did they do last year? Run the football. That is their key, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be an instant classic game like Chiefs-Rams in the LA Coliseum just a couple of years ago. The game was supposed to be in Mexico, just blow for blow, going all game.
It's Sunday Night Football too. Sunday Night Football.
Just for that, I'm gonna pick. It's not gonna be as exciting. I feel like every time we say that, it's not. So
yeah,
I mean, every Sunday Night Football game has been really good this year.
That's true.
So I think it'll follow that. It'll follow in that suit, definitely.
Yeah.
So definitely tune into that one. I'm going to be glued to the TV, and I feel like it's going to be a 4-quarter affair. So we'll end up seeing, if you guys want to vote, I say it every week, on the picks, because you guys fans also picked up 2 games on Shrikar and I. So it's Shrikar at the top with 40 wins, and us 3, you, Anish, and I tied 1 game below Shrikar. You can go to our Instagram, which is down at the link in our description. Polls are up every Friday to vote for all of the games on Sunday. You guys had the Los Angeles Rams winning on Thursday Night Football. So when you see this on Friday, we'll see if you guys are right or wrong. But anyways, that's all we got for you guys today. Make sure to tune in and come back next week. Hit the like button on YouTube if you enjoyed it, and subscribe. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please consider doing the same and leave a 5-star review if you enjoyed the episode. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. We've been the Cold Hard Truth Podcast, and we will see you next week.